Zura system. Can't log in.
Yeah, the website's not working. Do you have Zoom on your desktop? Do you have the icon? We'll have to join it from there for some reason.
That's what I'm trying to join from.
Gotcha. Okay.
Trying to sign in from that. Where's Anthony?
Right behind you.
Is he working on
That's a
it?
Zoom
That's
thing.
a good. I can.
You know they're having problems with Zoom today, right? It's been on the news since early this morning.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I think there was an outage. Yeah, because I got a message from my school district
Mm-hmm.
that
Because everybody's going back to school, yeah.
Oh, all these guys going back to school are messing the system up, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know, they said they're working on it, so.
Yeah, I'm getting a message here. They can't log in. The system, the Zoom system is not available. Wow. So, what's our?
You're up.
activity here?
You're in right now. So give me a second. I'll share a screen and then I'll go ahead and pop your presentation up. They want some housekeeping for homework. So let's get them their homework if I can share my screen.
No, you don't have to do that first. You can focus on the other stuff.
Okay.
I just now sound again. That's like, oh, okay. All right. So let's talk about our 90-day plan. And if I had to put emphasis on anything, it's kind of digging into this. I know we've got an assignment for later today for these 3 segments in Salesforce. I see completions. Did everybody have a chance to head into that and get those 3 knocked out?
I think I did 2 of them.
Okay. And I know you've got a busy lunch now with Stuart. If you can make that happen, but let's try to knock that 3rd one out when Adrienne gets a hold of you a little bit later after Jim's done. So there's that. What specifically did you want to review here, Tan?
No, I don't want to review. I just want to make sure I'm what needs to be done, and if I got a chance to do it.
Gotcha. I'd hit Salesforce. I'd hit that 3rd segment of Salesforce as my priority when we get some free time.
Sure.
All right. So let me stop sharing here and switch to Jim's situation. One moment, Jim. They're yours.
Okay. So now we've got to figure out how I get my screen to share.
I'm going to do it for you until we get that resolved.
All right. How you guys hearing me right now? Is there a lot of echo, a lot of ambiance, or is it pretty straightforward? I'll get the mic about that far from me.
Sounds clear to me.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay, good. If it gets boomy or a lot of ambiance, tell me so I can move it closer and or I can switch to my headset. I do not like to do conference room style presentations because they tend to be very distractive in terms of they sound like you're generally talking from the bottom of a pit, and I know that can get a little annoying after a couple of hours, and so you just let me know. Or I can get Chris to talk for me. Change our vocal a little bit.
All right. Let me turn some notifications and some things off so we're not interrupted.
Maybe we'll get into this today or not through the sales process, but one of the things that was suggested early on was to download or install one of the solutions on our own laptop or desktop, but I never got a clear on which to do. Do you do the cheap one, the $2.99 or whatever it is, or do you do the full one? And I'm going through trying to get with Continuum to do some training, but is there a process? I think that would help all of us in trying to understand the product itself, sales process, and what have you.
So I missed the first part of your question. Your question was about the level of laptop you need?
No, the continuum protection.
Oh,
There
okay.
was some suggestion about installing the continuum protection system service, whatever. I'm not sure, they just launched it, I think, Friday, and what they're calling it. So I forget what they're calling it now, but there's different levels, and I'm just trying to understand, what should we be doing that? Is that something we're going to go through eventually here?
We'll get Stuart or Ian to come and talk to that. I don't have the answer for it, but I don't want to give you a recommendation that is not accurate either. So let's just put that on the parking lot sheet here for
So,
Stuart.
hey, Jim,
Yes, sir.
hey, that's going to be one thing you guys are going to do as you start to launch. So if it's something you feel like you need sooner, Bill, please let us know, but we had intended for you to start that, next week when you get into your couple of hours of service delivery. But if every class feels like that's something that would increase things, let's get that over to Chris and, let's talk about that. So those are some of the things that, are up in the air on when we teach, same thing with data and some of the other stuff. So just give us your feedback.
Will do.
You're up. So yours.
All right. So everybody see the screen, the CMIT sales process screen, okay? On your
Yep.
computer? Good. Thumbs up, everybody. Good. You go. Great.
Yes.
Well, welcome. I hope you guys had a great weekend. We're going to give you a pretty heavy dose of marketing and sales and the difference between the two, with a lot of emphasis on sales. The word scares people. I recognize that. It is something that you have as far as an attribute, if you want to call it that, but it's certainly an element of running a business. If you saw some of my presentations in the prior to your Meet the Team Day, I talked about there's 28 million small businesses out there that's under 99 people. Every franchise in our system is in that category, even our largest, very largest one. We're all in that under 99 people. So we are, of the 28 million small businesses out there, we started this business because we had a passion for something. Probably wasn't to learn how to sell. I'm just going to make a quick guess. You had a passion because of your IT or your technical background. You liked the model. Whatever it is, you felt this was the model for you. But along with it comes that obligation, that issue of how do I bring people into my business? How do I attract them? How much time do I spend doing that? What kind of skill sets do I need to be able to go out and effectively draw people to my business, to the exception of somebody else's business? Or how do I get people interested in even talking to me to see if there might be some level of interest that we could engage in and have a conversation about that might somewhere down the road lead to an opportunity for us to do business together. So that's the question, but it all boils down to that 4-letter word, sell. How do I do that? And is it going to make me feel like I need to go home and take a shower after I've had a day of selling? Because I'm feeling dirty and slimy, and I don't want to be that same guy that I ran into the used car lot a couple months ago, or that guy that tried to sell me a refrigerator I didn't need. I want to not be perceived to be that. I am a business owner. I am going to be selling and providing service to other business owners in my business community. And I want to be able to do that on a peer-to-peer basis, not appear to be some sales guy who's only worried about making a commission and not helping me. That is a preconceived notion we all probably have somewhere in our experience of dealing with salespeople. So what I'm going to try to do in the duration of this week is to help you get through that. We're going to have to uncover some things that perhaps are a little uncomfortable. We probably will push you in directions that you're not quite used to, but I'm not going to ask you to do anything that's unethical or comes across as you're trying to diffuse my real interests. You're trying to confuse me. You're trying to motivate me or sell me something, whatever you want to call it. I don't want that attitude to come across in your delivery of who you are, what you do, how you help people. So we're going to work on both of them. How do you get to a point of a business transaction, but you do it in a very, very professional, ethical manner? That's the takeaway. So just have that in mind, and we'll go through start with the next slide, is we're going to try to do two things today. I want to walk you through the sales process. This is the big view. What does it look like, and how do we measure it? How do we tell where you are in a sales process? Remember, you've got a list of hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses that you will be engaging with over the tenure of your business. And we want to make sure that we have a way to track it, remember what we've done, and what we got to do next. So the process is the steps we go through to get there, from identification of an opportunity or a lead to the point of having them onboarded as a client. So I'm going to start off our presentation today with two questions. First question is, next slide. What is the one thing, get a pencil and a piece of paper, I want you to write it down. What is the one thing that can get between you and your success as a CMIT business owner? The second question, what is the one skill you would like to have, or that you think you must or could improve on in order to be great at bringing in the business, making your franchise grow, selling, whatever you want to call it? I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to think about what is in your mind the one thing you think could get between you and success, and what is the one skill you could develop or improve that would make that process a lot easier to do. Okay. Or if you want a couple more minutes, I'm
The first one.
tackle the first one.
I came in, it's, the first thing that gets, the one thing that gets in the way, gets between, is myself, to me, right? That's always what it is. So narrow it down a little bit more. Probably not making the necessary contacts each day would be the one thing that is just easy to not do. And in not doing that's going to be the thing, I think that stays between, the success factor and myself.
Okay. Thank you. That's good answer. I like that. How about you, Jerome?
For me, it's just the fear, right, that no one will buy from me. And especially during, these uncertain times, right?
Or not? Can you hear me?
Tan, you back with us, buddy?
Yeah, I'm just trying, having issues with my Zoom, I had to log out two times. You guys can hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, so I did not hear the whole thing. I heard Bill talking about one thing, then I missed the rest of it. If you ask me, I'm still learning, but I think one thing which can get between me and the success is probably not doing things what I'm supposed to do.
So how would you put that into a word? What is the thing that we would? You're not lazy, so would it be not knowing what to do next, or too many things to do, not knowing where to start? How would you paraphrase that? Not being able to do everything you need to.
So sales and marketing is all new to me, so I need to first figure that out.
We're going to give you some definitions today.
Sure,
And
sure.
we'll call working definitions. I'll keep them pretty clear and distinct. And we could argue about them all day long, but I'm going to use a definition or two that we're going to go with for the rest of this session this week to make sure we're clear on what we mean by sales and marketing, what the differences are, and how you can distinguish and manage the two together. So I would say, Dan, what would your word be? It's just kind of a not knowing, or just better understanding of sales and marketing so you can do the job better, or what?
Right, and I've heard from people sometimes they're saying, hey, people give up early. So I don't know if something is going to take 25 years and you
Yeah.
leave it at 20 years.
You hope it won't take 25. So I'm going to give you an answer. This is actually is the topic of a lot of research, including research we've done with our own franchisees over the years, looking at what are the things that we could characterize that are the things that would be an obstacle to anybody starting out. And it's not just CMIT. It's anybody starting out on a major change of life, which you could certainly classify as starting your own business as being in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic. You got a lot of challenges. So, yeah, I don't understand why most of what you guys said here is a little fear of unknown, not knowing. But when we looked at it through other demographics and other research studies that have been done, OMG being one of them, we've used the one thing that can really get between you and success is, go ahead, you. It's yourself. And I think, Bill, you touched on it right off the bat. It's yourself. Is you're going to have some things that, gosh, I don't know what I need to do today, so I just will find something else to do and feel busy. I may go read a research report. I may go maybe edit down some of the marketing material, make it look better for my market or whatever. But you get into something as more or less something to do in order to avoid something that needs to be done. And this is where we're going to talk a lot about some of the resistances and some of the things that you'll encounter in your own self as you begin to move toward, well, how do I direct this sales process? I'm not a salesperson. I'm not trained as a salesperson. I've never sold anything. 95% of you have in our system have never had the word sales in a title or job description. So how does that work? Well, that probably applies to the 95% of the 28 million others especially by the time you leave here on Friday, the process looks like. So I'm going to ask you to answer the second question now. Think about this for a couple of minutes. And you write down what you already written down, raise your hand. What is the one skill you think you could improve on in order to be really good at selling? Anybody come up? Kinds of questions can very, very quickly help that person understand that you care and you're listening to them. The other part of it is listening, and that's key. I can't decide whether good question or good listening better than the other, or one better, but they both go hand in glove. You better listen. You better ask good questions, and you better have the ability to describe a solution and say, I work on people like this all the time. We can help. Or you might have to say, in some cases, and this is a sort of a contra idea about sales, is, hey, we may not be the best fit. And to be able to admit that you're not a good fit, but maybe I can help you get connected to someone who can do the job. Great example of this is we don't do web designs. We do not do website or SEO. As a part of our professional services. So if you come across that, you still may want to get that person engaged for other reasons, but you may want to help them too if their first priority is to get a website refresh. Have a partner, have someone you work with in your territory that you get to know as a what I call a strategic partner that you can refer that person to, do them a favor, help them out, and then down the road they'll come back to you for the things that we do, that you do. So that's the kinds of things that we will be talking about. So I'm going to talk about getting through some of the things we are. How do we clean up? But I don't know if you can hear us. Okay. All right. We'll catch you up. We'll catch up that as soon as we get these. My system is still showing Zoom problems too. So. Last 40, 50 years of your life, don't talk to strangers. Think you're going to have a little difficulty opening up in a networking situation? Probably a little bit of resistance. Money doesn't grow on trees. Penny earned, penny saved, penny earned, all those kind of things. Frugal. You are a recording of everything that your mom and dad played bringing you up. So there's a lot of self-limiting beliefs. One of the biggest fears in a self-limiting belief area that you'll immediately encounter as you engage prospects and other business owners is talking about budget, talking about money. That's a really bad thing to talk about. We can talk that so many different ways over time. It's just really hard to kind of break away from. And it's a difficult line of questioning we get into. If I see 10 proposals a week, I will guarantee you 8 of them will have forgotten to ask about the budget because it's uncomfortable. I'm going to show you, and we're going to practice some ways to make hard questions more comfortable to ask so they don't come across as being offensive or off-puttish or whatever you want to call it when you're talking to them. I don't like doing that. It's just the way I am. This is a direct quote from one of the guys I was coaching last year. And the conversation started when we got into why don't you like talking to people? You're uncomfortable talking to people, which is not a good habit to have if you're trying to be good at networking or even in talking to a lead over the phone or talking to somebody in the first conversation about what they're interested in calling you. You better be comfortable about talking to other people. I dug it a little bit further into this person's statement, and I said, well, why? And the answer was, I just don't like idle chat. And that translated into, I don't like to talk. I don't like to ask questions that are mundane or seemingly small talk kind of thing. I just don't like the small talk way of doing things. I'd rather get down to the heart and the crux of the matter. But if you're going to engage with someone, you're going to have to be comfortable talking, asking questions, listening to the answer, responding to it some other, as I say, responsive way. And I don't like doing that. It's just the way I am. It's not going to be a good experience. Won't be for me, that's for sure. Next. So what I'm going to ask you to be doing a lot of in the next 4 days in various places, I want to ask you to challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, do some things that maybe you're just not used to doing or doesn't feel right, or are you really, it's new and you're going to be awkward and you're going to be kind of clumsy at it. That's going to happen. That's just the way, that's where we learn. We have the 4 steps of learning where we're completely incompetent and we don't know, and unconscious. We don't know what we don't know. Ever felt that way? It's just like, oh my God. Then the stark reality hits the next step. As you start to learn, you begin to understand that you're still incompetent, but you consciously know you're incompetent. That's really scary. I'm beginning to realize there's a whole lot of things I don't know. And then our next stage, as we get more and more into this, so I'm going to be pulling you through these stages over the next few weeks, next few days, as we go through our coaching, through our training. I'm going to try to get you to that somewhere between the second and the third stage, which is I want you to be applying many of the techniques we talked about. And we're going to get to that stage where we start to we're consciously competent. We're starting to understand things. We get good at it. I'm talking about my products. After last week, we'll have sort of that somewhere in between the first and second stage, knowing about what our products are. You've been introduced to them, so you're probably floating in there somewhere. But ultimately, and this will take time over the next year or so of us coaching and you working with the system, being successful in your sales efforts, growing your client base, you're going to become back to unconscious again, but you're going to be competent. So you're unconsciously competent. Does that make sense? It's in your fiber. You know it so well, you just kind of do it. And that's where we want to get you through in those 4 stages, those four levels of learning. But starting off now, where you are as it relates to CMIT, we're dangling somewhere in between consciously incompetent and trying to get to that next stage of being at least be good at something and be consciously aware of it as we move toward that ultimate stage of being unconsciously competent. So that's our plan. It is going to be a challenge. Rob, Chris, myself, and others are going to be pulling on you to kind of pull you out of the comfort zone a little bit, not because we're trying to expose you or embarrass you. It's just to get you to think about it, try it out, practice it, and pretty soon it'll get pretty normal, pretty natural for you.
Hey, Jim, were those steps supposed to be on the screen? Oh, or not?
Do you see a screen?
Yeah, I see the screen. You were just going through like the unconsciously competent and competent.
Oh, no, I just tell you.
Okay. I didn't know.
I tell stories a lot. You have to forgive me. I tend to wander off and do things sometimes that are not on the screen, but it's really just a description of where I think you will feel yourself going. And I don't want you to feel like you're being pressured. or put in a bad spot or us trying to embarrass you, because we're not. We're just there to try to help you go through those stages. You've got a lot of resources. I really, really want you to use them. You've got the coaching staff here, Teresa, myself, and Bob. You got the mastermind group that you'll grow into. You'll be in probably within a year to 18 months. You'll be at a point in your business where a mastermind group is going to be kind of your next step. You've done all of the, you got the training wheels off. Things are moving pretty well. You might be a little unsteady on the bike, but you're getting there. And this is where a group of your peers who've been through that or going through it together, you can participate in the things they talk about, and that can be it will be a very healthy exercise for you. Sales Mastery Program is going to be our weekly call, which we'll put together as far as the John Barrows program that's going to be coming up here. We'll be talking about that this week. And the webinars. We have lots of webinars from marketing, Salesforce, sales, internal stuff. We'll be putting out product information that will be available in webinars. Please, please, please find time in your calendars to go look at them, all of them. Sometimes more than once, just to make sure that you're reinforcing and rebuilding and amplifying your knowledge base of the skill or the product that's being discussed in these webinars. They'll all be identified in CMIT Connect, as will a lot of things will be there as well for you to go in and to listen to recordings or to look at material or look at toolkits that we have there to help you in your growth. So what are the secrets of establishing great relationships? Number one is connect. And that's get out and talk to people. That goes back to that little story I was telling you on the last slide. And I don't like small talk. So I just don't go out and talk to people because then I think it's just a waste of time. Well, it's not a waste of time. Connections can be as simple as Doug Bates. Those of you who validated with Doug Bates kind of get a sense of his personality. He says his favorite place to network is behind grocery lines at the end. Talk about the yogurt. Why do you choose that yogurt? Tell me more about that yogurt. Or what is it that you choose it for? He'll start a conversation in just about any place where there's another person. Carl Scheibel, good friend of mine, ran our Sandra program here for a while, died a month ago in a bike accident, which is tragic. Used what he called the 3-foot rule. Connect to anybody within the elbow room, 3 feet. If you can reach out and touch somebody, introduce yourself. He's a bike rider. That's how, unfortunately, how he met his end is a really tragic bike accident. But he told me the story one time, and he's an avid bike rider around here, Austin. They go on bike rides, 100-mile bike rides over the weekend, 125-mile bike rides. And he was just pedaling along one day, and I looked over to his left, and somebody he hadn't met before introduced himself. Asked him, well, what do you do? And the guy turned right around and said, well, tell me about your business. And I said, well, I'm in sales training. People who come to us are usually not having a great result with their sales teams, looking for ways to improve their performance. I'm sure that's probably not anything you're worried about right now. The guy stopped him and said, well, yeah, it is something I think a lot about. Let me introduce myself. I'm chairman of the board for Cisco. It turned into a 7-figure deal for him. It was a 3-foot arm length introduction to somebody he didn't know riding a bicycle, in a group of about 100 bikers. So connection is the key to everything. You're not going to connect to $1 million deal, or you're not going to connect to the chairman of the board of every company or they're here in Austin or in your territory, but you're going to meet people by just reaching out and trying. So I want to make sure that we look at the fear of connection, the fear of reaching out. One of the things that's really important as you begin to engage someone is begin to understand how they communicate. We're going to talk about the 4 styles of communication here in a little while in terms of how is that useful to you in terms of how you engage with someone else. It can make a difference, a world of difference if you're very cognizant of who the other person is and how they like to be communicated with and how you can communicate with them. Look, stand by, please. Lost our screen here for just a moment.
There we go.
There you go.
There she is.
This is where I go back to my friend I was speaking to on an earlier slide, is part of small talk. You got to say, well, how are you doing? To get something going. Is that small talk, or that just introducing yourself or starting a conversation? A good conversation starts with a thought that you can continue with. Tell you what you do. How did you get here? When did you start along this path? What motivated you to do that? What's going on in your industry? What are the things that you think about all the time? There's lots of questions you can ask. Not only do you get a conversation going, but to keep it going. We're going to cover a lot of those as we go through this session and next session to help you get more comfortable at talking to somebody at a networking event, even if it's virtual, which is unfortunately the way the world's working right now. But also even picking up the phone and talking to a lead that's called in, or making the first outbound call to someone who sent in a web form fill, and start that conversation, getting them going, getting them interested in what you have to say, and being able to keep a conversation going toward an objective. One of the easiest ways to do that, connect with someone, is talk about what they do, not about yourself. Anybody ever been to an event and you met a guy who tried to sell you something like insurance or real estate, had a glass of cheap scotch in his hand, and all he did was talk about himself? Nobody's ever done that. Nobody's ever been there, right? Bill, you have. How about you, Jerome? You ever met somebody that just all wanted to do is talk about themselves, and you just said, okay. Stanley, how about you? Done that, been there? Danny, back on, can you hear us? I know you're trying, I can see your screen going over once in a while. Just let us know if you can hear us when you hear us. And this is where we get into something I mentioned earlier. Part of connection, part of getting the relationship right, is knowing how, in a nice way, ask the hard questions. And usually, hard questions are one of three categories. They don't necessarily want to talk about money, the budget. They resist it. They just think you're trying to grab something out of their pocket. They want to know. They think you just want to know how much money they got, so they proposal because they've got none. They don't trust you yet. They haven't got to know you very well. Whatever it is. Sometimes it's difficult for them to talk about who makes decisions about that. And they oftentimes are very, very reluctant to talk about, hey, what's really going on, how they're impacting, what's going on with the computer. But they all said that. If they all said that, what's the one thing that always crops up is I'm the buyer, right? The only thing I'm hearing is they're all number one. They're all the fastest. They're all the best. They're all the highest technology you have. They're all got the best service in the world. What's the one thing that's left to distinguish the difference between the four of them?
The price.
Price.
Oh, yeah, the money.
Price. Guys, you can get drug into this conversation more time than you ever thought you wanted to. And price, you're gonna. I mean, if I see lost on price or decision lost budget or couldn't meet the budget or whatever, that's the one excuse I see all the time. And there's ways to do that. We're going to talk about. That was one of the driving factors that we redesigned our entire sales process, looking at it from A to Z, is how do we get away from being compared to everybody else on the basis of price? What is it we're missing? And we're going to talk about that as we go through this section here. Is the thing that's missing is compelling value. So I'm going to plant that seed. We'll work to the next, go to the next piece. We took every sales system Rob, myself, and others in the company have been through. IBM, I've been through Intel, I've been through Xerox, I've been through Sandler, I've been through spin selling, I've been through Oracle's task target account selling, and they all are good. I promise you they're all good. We're working with another company right now called John Barrows, which has got some fantastic tactical ways to improve your sales results. And we're folding some of the best of breed from that into what we're doing. So we have worked over the years to really, really enhance the best points. And we really brought it together last year and trying to assimilate it in a cohesive system that you can follow and you can use almost like a checklist. So it helps you get to know where you're going, where you are, where you've been, and the process of selling. So again, it goes back, number one, to the emphasis on starting with your sales relationship. That's always the foundation and the techniques you use. I'm going to give you a little bit of science. I'm going to give you a little bit of art. We're going to focus on science today in terms of structure, what the sales process looks like, but it's also built on some of the secrets, some of the techniques of good, strong relationship building. I've been in sales for 45 years. I've used techniques with my kids that work really, really well that I also use in selling 6 to 7 figure deals in the high-tech industry. And I promise you will be able to carry away from the techniques we talked about and help you with into your own life and other aspects as well. It's a lot of fun. If you've ever given your teenage son an upfront contract about what time he's supposed to be home after his date that night, you'll understand what I mean. I'll describe that a little bit later. So along with that comes those good communication skills, kind of we're getting into the art of it. We talk about the science being the structure. We talk about the art being how well I can communicate, some of the techniques I can use to get people to make decisions, get to a point in the sales process where they'll either make a commitment or tell you, hey, it's not right yet, timing's off. Whatever it is, you want to be able to apply those techniques and communications in that artful way that gets you to where you need to be in the process. We're going to practice a few of those as we go through our presentation. Okay. And leave those self-limiting beliefs at the doorstep. Leave them at home. Don't take them with you. Just get out. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give my proposal pitch. I'm going to go for the close. I'm going to do it comfortably, professionally, and I'm going to live life, be brave, 10 seconds at a time, and I will get through this. And I promise you, by the time you get through our sessions this week, you'll be able to feel that way as well. Okay? Connecting. First thing about connecting is ask a question. There's lots of ways to ask questions. One way I like a lot is start high and work low. So if I see somebody at a trade show or if I see somebody at a networking event, And hopefully that'll happen again one day when I can actually see them live, in person, eyeball to eyeball. Start off a conversation with, what